UFC St. Louis. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, we got Derrick Lewis versus Rodrigo Nascimento, and I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card. So make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video as well. And also note, I'll be live for the entire UFC St. Louis fight card Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion. And let's get into our first fight on the card. We got ladies going after it. J.J. Aldrich versus Veronica Hardy. I'm going to pick Veronica Hardy to win a decision here. She's got the trending momentum upward. I think the skill set's getting better. She trains with her husband, Dan Hardy, who's a great MMA mind. And let's be real, J.J. Aldrich is a pretty mid-tier girl. I think Hardy wins a hard three-round fight. It goes all three. I think it goes distance. I think the over makes a lot of sense. Aldrich has that pressure grappling style, but she has okay striking out of the southpaw stance. But I think she's going to look to tie up and try and outmuscle Veronica Hardy. But Hardy actually has pretty slick jiu-jitsu. She even had it, prior to her retirement and then comeback. She's had pretty good submission game for a while, but now she's got the better fight IQ. The striking's solid. It's a bouncy striking style. She's pretty smooth on the feet. She's not top caliber with big power, but she's quick. And I think that out of the southpaw stance for both girls, it's an intriguing matchup. I was trying to find some evidence of these girls fighting southpaws in the past, but I know J.J. Aldrich fought Macy Barber, who's a switch stance fighter, so I guess you can kind of look at that one. But I don't know. When they clash with southpaw versus southpaw, I think it makes the striking interesting. But just off of, I guess, intuition, I'm going to favor Veronica Hardy's hand speed and footwork in a southpaw versus southpaw matchup, as well as her working with Dan Hardy, the MMA mind behind her. I just think she'll be more prepared for a fellow southpaw. So I'm going Veronica Hardy by decision over J.J. Aldrich in this fight. As far as the odds, she's minus 150, the favorite here. And then looking at it, it's plus 130 for Aldrich. Over 2.5, which I think is pretty damn likely, is minus 375. First fight of the night, ladies going at it. Give me Veronica Hardy to keep the comeback win streak going. She's got 2 in a row. I think she gets to 3 in a row over J.J. Aldrich. Next fight on the card, we got Jared Gooden versus Kevin Jousset. I'm picking Kevin Jousset to win, and I think he's actually going to get a knockout here. I know Jousset last time out went distance with Kenan Song, but Kenan Song's pretty historically durable. Did get a finish against Kiefer Crosby in the debut. And if you look at Jousset's styles, he has good counter striking, right? He's a technical and calculated kickboxer who picks his shots really well, and he has a high rate of accuracy with his striking. Not the biggest one-punch thud, and that's not why I'm picking him by knockout. I think the reason that you're going to see Jousset knock out Gooden is Gooden's hitability and willingness to throw bombs, looking for a KO himself, leaving him vulnerable. Gooden's last fight, he beat Wellington Turman, but he was getting touched up on the feet until he landed that big strike and then was able to get a comeback submission win, which was a pretty surprising outcome because Wellington Turman's got good jiu-jitsu. Gooden's always got that puncher's chance, and he's a good athlete who's physically strong. The hands are a little low for my liking, especially against a technician like Jousset. I think Jousset finds the chin. Gooden gets caught, dropped, and KO'd here. I'm going Jousset, knockout win, and what should be an impressive performance. And I think Kevin Jousset's a good fighter from City Kickboxing that can emerge as a top 15 threat in the UFC welterweight division. Jared Gooden is not the guy to stop the hype train, not in my opinion. Gooden is plus 210 as a dog. These lines make perfect sense. Minus 250 for Jousset. I'm surprised he's not larger. I could have seen him at minus 350 here. The over 1.5 is minus 210. Interesting. Over-under action is interesting. I like under 2.5 rounds as opposed to playing the under 1.5, which is at plus 170. I think under 2.5 is better. And I think the likelihood of this fight going distance, I mean, it's possible because Jousset's much of a technician, but I do think he's going to find the finish. So I'm going to go Jousset to finish it. I think KO. I guess you wouldn't be crazy going inside distance for the chance of submission either, but Jousset should get the finish. In the official call, Jousset knockout over Jared Gooden here. Let's keep on running up. Next fight on the card, we have Jake Hadley versus Charles Johnson. I'm picking Charles Johnson. I don't think Jake Hadley's that good. I think a lot of these UK guys that, come over with some hype and then, they end up coming into the UFC and having subpar results. We've seen it a handful of times at this point. And I think that Charles Johnson is a tricky veteran to deal with. We'll go decision for Johnson. I see him winning this thing. Now, as far as the odds of the fight, they have Johnson as an underdog, plus 144, which is a solid line. Minus 164 for the side of Jake Hadley. I think that Charles Johnson's a pretty decent underdog. I know he's 33, so some of you might look at that as a negative against the younger Jake Hadley. But to me, Jake Hadley hasn't shown the goods that he's going to be running up the ranks here. And Charles Johnson is a tricky veteran who's always in game fights. For the most part, has never ran out of the damn room in fights in the UFC unless it's against high caliber grappling. Minus 260 for that over 2.5. I think we're going over. I think Charles Johnson can actually put a little bit of a win streak together, man. This changes right here for Charles Johnson. He's either 14-7 after this one or 15-6. And damn, 15-6 sounds so much better than 14-7. I think Charles Johnson can beat Jake Hadley by a decision. I'm going to pick him on the cards. Expect some good striking from distance. We'll find some clean shots. And outpointing Jake Hadley over a hard-fought 3 rounds is going to be the outcome. Let's keep on running. Next fight on the card, we got Trey Waters versus Billy Goff. I'm going with Billy Goff to win. Initially, I was like, okay, Trey Waters, he's long, he's tall. But when you watch him fight, he is a very much point fighting style, right? And likes to fight at a very calculated pace. Billy Goff, on the opposite side, is a high-paced fighter who is constantly in your face, constantly pressuring, and he doesn't seem to break. I think that Trey Waters is actually going to get broken in this fight because Goff is going to be on him like glue, whether it's mixing in takedowns or big punch combinations in close. Yes, for sure. At 6'5", Trey Waters from long range has a huge striking advantage. The thing is, Billy Goff is not just going to sit out there and get touched up. He's going to force the action. He's going to close distance, and he's going to throw some flurries in close. And I think he finds some big shots on Trey Waters, too. And I think he could even mix in some takedowns in this fight. Waters last time outpointed Josh Quinlan for 3 rounds. Quinlan also chose to fight him at a respectable, calculated martial arts pace. Billy Goff is not that type of fighter. He's not a guy just walking through the door. You know what I'm saying? He's bursting through it. And he's going to be putting a lot of pressure on Trey Waters. He's going to be backing him up. He's going to be making this a scrappy fight. And he's also going to probably rip some leg kicks from the mid-range. And even though Waters could pop him with some straight shots, I don't think that Waters has incredible power. I don't. He's got a hands-low striking style, which, that's favorable when you're on the outside, but you better bring those hands up as you have a pressure fighter in Billy Goff who's going to be in your face the whole time. I like the high output. I like the fact that he's an absolute dog, and also he's a damn underdog in this fight. Billy Goff, I think he's getting a TKO in the 2nd or 3rd round. I think he's going to wear on Trey Waters, beat him up late in the fight, and stop him here. So as far as the odds, Billy Goff is an underdog at plus 142. Trey Waters, minus 162, the favorite. I think Billy Goff can win this thing. I think he ends it inside distance. I think it's potentially ground and pound. I think he rips him with some body shots in close against the cage. I think Waters doesn't like the pressure he's dealing with. And I do think Trey Waters is going to eventually fold in this fight with Billy Goff getting the hand raised. We're going underdog, Billy Goff for the TKO or knockout here over Trey Waters, and what's going to be a good fight. I mean, we're going to find out who's the real truth, and I don't think it's Trey Waters. I think it's Billy Goff who's going to be the truth, man. If you look at Billy Goff's wins, too, Szymon Szmetrowski, dude, the way that fight went down, it was just Billy Goff savagery, just overwhelming him and beating him up. Same thing with Kinoshita, overwhelming him and then breaking him with a body shot. Billy Goff overwhelms guys. He's got a crazy pace, whereas Trey Waters, that technical tap move type pace, it's going to be hard to keep Billy Goff off of you, man. I don't think that Trey Waters' boxing is that freaking good. It's solid, but it's not that good to, absolutely tee up Billy Goff for 3 rounds. Because that's what I think Trey Waters would need to do. And I think as this fight wears, like I said, second, third round, as things even out, Trey Waters slows down. He might win the first with the jabs, but depends. Billy Goff might close the gap early. Billy Goff is going to pull this off. He's going to wear Waters down and he's going to finish him. He might submit him, but I'm thinking KO. Next fight on the card, the ladies going after it. We have Tabatha Ricci versus Tecia Torres. I'm picking Tabatha Ricci to win over Tecia Torres. But what's interesting is these girls are exactly the same height, exactly the same reach. And like there are some comparisons that maybe could be made to Tabatha Ricci and Tecia Torres. But Tecia hasn't fought in 2 years. She also had a kid in that time, and her coming back from having a baby just has me with even less confidence than I would have here. Ricci's extremely skilled with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but she's also got pretty solid stand-up and good hand speed. I think she's going to be too strong, too slick, and too primed for Tecia Torres. The prime Tecia Torres and Tabatha Ricci, mad coin flip. Like, that fight is extremely competitive because Ricci was always super quick and scrappy and hard to contain and control. But I think now towards 35, whereas Ricci's on the come up at 29, I think she wins this on the judges' scorecards. I'm going with Tabatha Ricci for a decision. I think we're definitely going over 2.5 in this fight. As far as the odds, Tabatha Ricci is a -140 favorite, but actually -125 was there for a second, but I guess -140 for the most. +120, Tecia Torres. The over 2.5 is -360. I think these ladies are going over 2.5 rounds for sure. I think Tabatha Ricci outworks Tecia Torres over the course of, a hard 3 rounds. Now, if you look at Tecia, her last fight was in 2022. It was 2 years ago against Mackenzie Dern. Before that, Angela Hill win, Sam Hughes win, and Brianna Fortino win, who at this point is not even in the UFC. Lost to Lupi Godinez on a split decision for Tabatha Ricci, but she had a great streak together, beating Jillian Robertson, tapped Jessica Penne. Viana's beatable as hell, though. Oliveira's beatable as hell. I think Tabatha Ricci and Tecia Torres are of a similar level, to be honest with you, but Tecia Torres is out of her prime at this point. I think Tabatha Ricci is absolutely in her prime and getting better, so I'm going to go Ricci to win a hard-fought decision here. Tecia Torres was mad close to beating Mackenzie Dern in that fight some time ago. Still lost it, but she was scrappy in the matchup. That's 2 years ago. That's pre-baby. All right, let's get to our next fight. We have Terrence McKinney versus Esteban Ribovics. Terrence McKinney. That's my pick. I think Terrence McKinney can submit Esteban Ribovics. Like, how am I going to pick an Esteban Ribovics who in his last fight was getting dominated by Camuela Kirk on the ground in round number 1? He had his back taken and he was getting some chokes attempted on him. Obviously, he didn't end up getting strangled, but there were some chokes that were being set in. I think Terrence McKinney can lock up a submission in the first round. I also think he can knock Esteban Ribovics out. I know Terrence McKinney is Mr. Inconsistency personified here, but he is on a 2-fight win streak. He does have a lot of punching power. He also has a solid grappling game. And I just don't think Esteban Ribovics is all that great. I mean, Ribovics has decent pressure. He's got solid hooks. He flurries shots well on the inside. He's got a bit of power, but not a lot. He's 12-1. He's got a good record, but I think Terrence McKinney can dominate, man. I really do. I can't pick an Esteban Ribovics who's beaten Camuela Kirk by decision against Terrence McKinney. I think Terrence McKinney is going to submit him in the first round. We're going McKinney for the finish. Now, as far as the odds, Terrence McKinney is +165. He's a really big underdog. Ribovics -190. How we got -190 Ribovics? Like, if they had it near even money, I wouldn't complain, but I don't think that Terrence McKinney should be this big of an underdog. Ribovics is not that guy. Under 1.5, -225. Probably under 1.5, I would say here. With Terrence McKinney, it's pretty common that it is. Under 2.5, I think for sure. And I think it's Terrence McKinney getting a finish. I think he can submit Esteban. I think he can take the back and finish the job here. And if you're talking about striking, McKinney's got a big power advantage. I think he could find Ribovics' chin. I'm going for McKinney as an underdog. I think he can win this fight. I'm not writing Terrence McKinney off just because of some L's. Let's keep on moving. Next fight on the card, we have Featured prelim. Already coming at us. The featured prelim of the night. We have Chase Hooper versus Vyacheslav Borshchev. I am picking Vyacheslav Borshchev, Slava Claus himself, to knock Chase Hooper out. Even though Chase Hooper has some phenomenal grappling, he doesn't have a great wrestling game, and his stand-up is still a pretty bad. Like, I was going to say abysmal. I guess I'll say it's abysmal. It's not good. Slava Claus has a nasty kickboxing game. He's got legitimate punching power, strong leg kicks, and he does train at Team Alpha Male, and the dude is spending all his time working on grappling defense. I know Chase Hooper is slick with the jiu-jitsu. I know he submitted Jordan Levitt, who's also decent with jiu-jitsu, but also one of the most unathletic fighters in UFC history. Beat Nick Fiore on a decision. Steve Garcia knocked him out brutally a year and a half ago. Felipe Colares win. Rest in peace to Colares. And then Steven Peterson lost. I think Slava Claus finds that chin and absolutely lays him clean. I really do. Even though Hooper has tremendous jiu-jitsu and the striking offense has gotten a little better, he still cowers away from punches and absolutely has a fragile chin. Slava Claus is the essence of a striking maestro. Legit KO power on top of that. Lacks grappling, but like I said, working on it. He's improving on his defense every damn day. And I think that Slava Claus is going to knock Chase Hooper out. Probably in the first round. I don't think Hooper can take a big shot from Slava. As far as the odds here, Slava Claus is minus 156, the favorite. Chase Hooper is plus 136, the underdog. And under 1.5 is plus 130. Interesting. I think it could definitely go under. Chase Hooper does not respond well to big punches. And Slava Claus is the essence of that. And I know Chase Hooper wants this fight on the ground, but he doesn't have the wrestling pedigree where he's just going to be blast double-legging Borshchev. I think Slava's fending off takedowns early in the fight, stinging Chase Hooper, and breaking him in the first round. We're going Slava Claus by first round KO. Let's jump to our main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We got Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Rebellis Despaigne. If you're thinking Waldo is going to be the guy that exposes Rebellis Despaigne, expect to take a fat L if you're betting on that. Rebellis Despaigne is going to dust Waldo Cortes-Acosta. Many of you will think, oh, but Waldo's never been knocked out in MMA. He has a good chin. He has a quality boxing game. He was 6-4 as a pro boxer. Yeah, he was 6-4 as a pro boxer. And he suffered 3 knockout losses in boxing, and one of which I'm going to tell you guys to go watch. It's Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Sonny Conto. Waldo was viciously laid out by a straight in that fight, went flat unconscious. And Rebellis Despaigne is probably going to knock him out with a similar punch. Despaigne is an amazing prospect that's on the come up in the heavyweight division. The only comparison for the amount of hype and excitement that I've seen in a heavyweight prospect to me with Rebellis is Francis Ngannou. That's the only one. Despaigne is the essence of a KO king. All KOs by knockout, is on a meteoric rise to the top right now. And I think he's getting a KO. Like, I think he's going to absolutely dust Where's Waldo. I don't see it as a competitive fight. I think Waldo's getting laid out. Waldo barely got past Andrei Arlovsky, and that was an Andrei Arlovsky. Dontel Mays chinned. I don't think Waldo's that guy. And listen, before you think, oh, this guy just doesn't like Waldo, I have picked Where's Waldo numerous times in the past. I've locked Where's Waldo numerous times in the past, and I was a fan of Waldo on the come up for sure. But Rebellis Despaigne is of a different cloth. He has a 9-inch reach advantage, a 3-inch height advantage, definitely longer legs, and a Taekwondo medalist too, like silver medal in Taekwondo. I know it's not really normally a great base for MMA, but I think for Rebellis Despaigne, it just shows the caliber of athlete we're dealing with, and he's a special talent. Rebellis Despaigne via KO in this fight, and I do think it's probably in the first round, which is how all of Rebellis Despaigne's fights have ended. As far as the odds, you are getting a deal of a lifetime at minus 160 for Rebellis Despaigne, because I will tell you guys, the way he's going to dust Where's Waldo in this fight, next time out, he's probably going to be minus 250. It's going to keep getting larger until he runs into maybe a good wrestler. Then things could change odds-wise. Strikers, they're all in trouble. Plus 140 for Waldo. He's got no shot here. The under 1.5 is minus 225. Probably going under 1.5. I'd say yes. I'm going first round knockout for Rebellis Despaigne. He's going to lay Where's Waldo out in vicious fashion. And I really believe we have a heavyweight contender on the come up. Especially a heavyweight star to build on the come up. The fans are going to go absolutely crazy for. Especially the fact that he's going to get a highlight reel knockout again this Saturday. And the nightmare momentum continues to build. Rebellis Despaigne is one of the freakiest heavyweight talents we've ever seen. And I think he's going to absolutely destroy Waldo Cortes-Acosta this Saturday. You're getting a steal of a line. I can't believe it's minus 160. Literally, I can't believe that. Next fight on the main card, we have Alex Caceres versus Sean Woodson. I'm going with Sean Woodson. I think Sean Woodson wins a decision here. It's a scrappy fight for him, man, because Caceres is an OG vet. I mean, look at the experience. But Sean Woodson is looking so primed right now. He has really good boxing. He fights well from the outside. He's got a long reach advantage. He's got a big height advantage. He's got a speed advantage on Caceres too. And I don't think Caceres is going to probably wrestle. I don't know. I think Caceres is going to fall into striking. I mean, Alex Caceres tried to kickbox with Giga Chikadze. So he obviously had confidence in there against one of the most high-caliber kickboxers in the UFC right now. I'd assume he'd have confidence to try and strike with the former amateur boxer in Sean Woodson. Unfortunately for him, he's also taken an L. I think this, stylistically, in a sense, this could be a worse matchup because Woodson's hands are more active, and he also has more of a reach than Giga Chikadze. I think that we're going to see Sean Woodson win a unanimous decision in this fight. I really think he's come into his own. He's finding his footing inside of the UFC right now, and he's on his way into the upper echelon here. He takes on Alex Caceres, who's a tricky vet for sure, but I don't think Alex Caceres is going to have the goods to beat Sean Woodson. I don't think he can knock him out. The only way I could see him winning is obviously a competitive decision, or he's going to have to submit him here. But I don't think Sean Woodson's going to be easy to get down. 6'2" at 145 and doesn't seem to lack physical strength at this point. Sean Woodson by decision is my official pick here. Sean Woodson currently is minus 175 the favorite, as he should be. At open, let's see what it was. He was minus 110, so they opened even. Plus 150 for Alex Caceres. Also note Alex Caceres is over 35. Over 2.5 rounds, minus 280. And then under 2.5, plus 220. It's just the shift of momentum, man. The upwards trend for Sean Woodson. And I think good striking from the outside. It's going to be really tricky for Alex Caceres to deal with. I'm curious, too, to see how Sean Woodson deals with Caceres' southpaw stance. I'll say I think he's going to look fine here. Coming from a boxing background, especially as an amateur, I'm sure he's seen a lot of southpaws there. And then coming in now, taking on Alex Caceres, it's just not an overly large concern with Caceres' striking style. Especially because Caceres, I don't know, I don't want to say he's slow with his hands. He's not the quickest guy at 145. He's a good fighter, though. And he's a tough fighter, and he's a hard matchup for Sean Woodson, but a very winnable fight. I think Sean Woodson by a unanimous decision. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card, Diego Ferreira versus Mateusz Rębecki. You know the pick. You all know the pick. Rębecki. Rębecki's going to whoop Diego Ferreira. I think he's probably going to end up knocking him out. Rębecki's the essence of a muscle tank. The dude's 5'7" and built like an absolute freak. He's got a strong wrestling base. He's also a southpaw. I consider him a little pit bull, man. Short, stocky, savage. I think he's heavy on top, right? And he can control a lot of guys in grappling. But in this fight here, I think he also has a big power and striking advantage over Diego Ferreira. Note that this is a little bit of a short notice spot for Ferreira. So Rębecki was initially supposed to fight Yoel Alvarez on UFC Vegas 91 about 2 weeks ago, or I guess at the time of the fight coming, it'll be 2 weeks ago. It was like, I guess, a week and a few days ago at UFC Vegas 91. And Ferreira stepped in here to take on Rębecki. I think he's going to get knocked out. I think he gets finished. There's a chance that Rębecki wants to show how good he is on the ground and just bodies Ferreira there too, but big striking advantage. Watch for leg kicks from Rębecki. He rips legs really nicely. And then big power shots, and he's going to force Ferreira to back up a lot. And Ferreira's stand-up, though he caught Michael Johnson with a big overhand and laid him out, Ferreira is not a high-caliber striker in any sense of the word. He's going to get absolutely destroyed when they fight on the feet. Rębecki's going to viciously knock him out, and it's Rębecki's time now. But Ferreira's also almost 40 now. It's crazy. I remember when Ferreira was like young on the come-up, when he lost the Ultimate Fighter finale, but then he put some wins together. And then I remember when Poirier chinned him. Rębecki's coming to chin him too. Let's look at the odds here. Minus 280 for Rębecki. No complaints. That's a fair line. Plus 240 for Diego Ferreira. It makes perfect sense. I think Ferreira's getting destroyed in this fight. Rębecki knockout. If Rębecki wants to do a battle of egos, though, there is a chance that he says, fuck it. I'm going to try to submit Diego Ferreira. Can you imagine that? He's got good submissions, Rębecki, but Diego Ferreira does have high-caliber jiu-jitsu, and I don't think it'll be easy for him to, tap out a guy who's never been submitted in professional fighting. So I'm going Rębecki to go for the knockout, and I think he finds it here. Next fight on the card. It brings us to featured bout of the night. We have Alonzo Menifield versus Carlos Ulberg. This one was a little trickier for me to pick than I initially anticipated, especially because of the rise that Alonzo Menifield has had lately. And I'm really torn, man. I'm very torn. You guys are going to say, bro, you're crazy. It's Ulberg all day. I'm going to pick Ulberg, right? But I think Alonzo Menifield is going to be a really tough test for him. This is the biggest fight of Carlos Ulberg's UFC career. This is the most difficult test. He hasn't beaten anybody to the level of Alonzo Menifield. Menifield last time was able to not only beat Dustin Jacoby, a former Glory kickboxer, but drop him multiple times in that fight. Menifield's got good power in his hands. He's a physical specimen. Very strong, athletic. There's a lot to like. I don't think Menifield's a terrible underdog. And, I almost picked Menifield, but something is telling me Carlos Ulberg's time can be now. He's a little slicker. If he fights smart, if he controls the output and doesn't go for broke looking for the knockout, I think he finds clean shots on Menifield. I think he's the technically superior striker, and he should be the technically better fighter. But Menifield is a damn dog, and Ulberg can't fuck around here. He definitely can't. In the third round against Da Un Jung, he looked like he was wilting a bit. Look at Menifield's third round against Dustin Jacoby. He was coming on so strong, and he won that fight because he put the heat on him and dropped him. But if you're looking at the striking, right, before that big shot landed, Dustin Jacoby is teeing up Menifield from range. That's something I see Carlos Ulberg with the same ability to do here against Alonzo Menifield. And I think because of his slickness and also his fighting prime is now, I think Ulberg is going to be able to evade and avoid the big power shots of Menifield. And for that reason, I think Carlos Ulberg can win. But I'm telling you guys, not as easy as a fight as maybe some people are anticipating for Ulberg to dust Menifield. I have a lot of respect for Menifield at this point. He's a vet of the game. I'm thinking we go over 1.5. I think Ulberg wins a decision. I think he might be tested to go long here. I think he takes 3 rounds on Alonzo Menifield. As far as the odds for the fight, it's wide towards Ulberg at minus 230. Menifield's not a bad underdog. Over 1.5, minus 210, I think so. Menifield plus 195. It's just Ulberg has a clear technical striking advantage and striking speed advantage. Menifield does throw a lot of looping shots, where Ulberg is better straight down the line and has more precision with his shots, which is why I'm going to pick Carlos Ulberg. But Menifield's game. Menifield's game. If you think it's a walk in the park, I think you're crazy. I know Menifield was knocked out by OSP, left hook landed, and I know Ulberg has a beautiful left hook. So there's, possibility of that coming to fruition. But as of late, Menifield has looked very good, beating Dustin Jacoby in a big win, beating Jimmy Crute, and then beating Sirkanov. That's an easy fight. Mazarov, bum. Carlos Ulberg on the other side. Da Un Jung win, who's Poteria win, who just got destroyed this weekend. Nego Mariano win, was okay. Tafon Chukwi win, was not very good. And then a Fabio Charant decision. In a sense, I see this fight looking more similar to a Fabio Charant fight, with him being forced to go long and get a decision and be calculated with picking shots and avoid bombs from Alonzo Menifield. I think Carlos Ulberg is going to win. I think he's got the goods to pull it off, but I'm just bringing some concerns to the forefront for me because I am a little bit of an Ulberg doubter right now. I don't know. He's breakable. Chukwi did knock him out. It wouldn't blow my mind if Menifield pulled off an upset here. I wouldn't be that surprised. So looking at Ulberg, I assume many people like, yo, lock it up, put him in the parlay. Maybe. He might win. And I am picking him to win. I'm going to predict that he does enough. But he's going to be tested here against a very game Alonzo Menifield in the biggest fight of his UFC career. This is the hardest fight of Carlos Ulberg's professional fighting career. I'll say that he pulls it off. But Atomic Alonzo Menifield, he's a dangerous underdog here in this fight. Dangerous underdog. And if you bet Menifield, good luck to you. I don't think you're crazy. I see what you're seeing. I see why you would. Because this, to me, is not a minus 210. This is not a minus 230 Ulberg. This is a minus 110 each side. Like, this is more of a 50-50 fight than the odds will make it out and how the hype will make it out. But I'm going to pick Ulberg to pull it off. I think he does enough to beat Alonzo Menifield, but damn, this is a hard fight. Co-main event. Joaquin Buckley versus Nursultan Ruziboev. Buckley gets his wish. He gets to fight in the co-main event spot, not the main event spot, but he gets to fight at home in St. Louis, repping his people. And he takes on Nursultan Ruziboev, who is a difficult matchup, man. Ruziboev is tall. Ruziboev is long. Ruziboev's dangerous. Now, looking at the odds of the fight right out the gate, Ruziboev is an ever so slight dog here at plus 128. I think that Buckley finishes him in the third round. I think Buckley can beat Ruziboev. Ruziboev's slick from the outside, but he's fighting down at 170 now, and I can see him slowing a bit, wearing a bit. I can see Buckley landing some decent shots over the top and stinging Ruziboev. I really feel like Buckley's come into his own as of recent. I recognize Ruziboev is a game test. He does have a massive height advantage, little bit of a reach advantage. For some reason, Tapology never updates the reach, but I think it's actually, it might be the same. It might be 76.5 for Ruziboev and then 76 for Buckley. So not much of a reach difference, even though Ruziboev is much taller. Buckley can land some big shots over the top. I think that Ruziboev in the first round is going to be hard to get, a hold of and hard to close the gap on. But Buckley's going to keep pressing. And I question Ruziboev's gas tank, man. I question Ruziboev in the third round, especially with a very draining weight cut to 170 pounds. This is not an easy test against Buckley. And coming in here in a spot where he was previously fighting at 85, now he's down at 170, and this was a later addition fight to this card, which really made this card a lot better. I'm going to go Buckley for a late knockout. I think he can pull this off in the third round by KO. I think it could be a decision as well, but I'm going Buckley. He's a slight favorite, ever so slight. Forget about the odds. It's a fight, bro. Forget about the odds. It's a fight. Could be even money in this fight right here. Ruziboev is a really tough test, but I got to go with Buckley, who's coming off the biggest win of his life against Vicente Luque, who's surging here at 170, and I think he's going to end up beating Nursultan Ruziboev, and he's going to win at home. We're going with Team Buckley for the W, man. And you know what? Ruziboev's win over Ferreira was epic. His win over Dumas was very controversial, and I think he's taken on a really tricky Joaquin Buckley here, and it's at 170. I'm going Buckley for the W. I think he wins. Buckley for the win. Let's jump to our main event of the evening. Derrick Lewis versus Rodrigo Nascimento. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. I'm picking Derrick Lewis by vicious knockout. I don't think Rodrigo Nascimento is very good. I think he's okay as far as a mid-tier heavyweight goes. But now to be in the rankings, top 15, and taking on Derrick Lewis, I will never forget Nascimento getting absolutely dusted by Chris Daukaus, who was a victim of Derrick Lewis. And I don't care if it was 20 years ago, okay? It was 3.5 years ago. The power of Derrick Lewis is going to be able to find that dome of Nascimento and absolutely lay him clean. I am not a Derrick Lewis doubter by any means. Like, normally when he wins, I'm on the right side of history. Like with De Lima when he pulled it off, when he beat Dawkins. A lot of times, man, he gets disrespected by the bookies and he's a dog. I think Derrick Lewis should be a bigger favorite in this fight. He has the touch of death. He's still an absolute freak. Don't doubt the man. He's not going to get submitted. Nascimento has decent jiu-jitsu, but he's not a great athlete. He's kind of, a chubby Brazilian MMA style, but does like the grappling, but definitely falls in love with his hands. He has okay hands, but not a lot of punching power on the side of Nascimento. And I don't think he's a submission threat to Derrick Lewis, who survived 5 rounds on the ground with Jailton Almeida, regardless of him in horrible positions. He survived there. If you're talking about striking, it takes one punch from Lewis, and Nascimento's stand-up game is clunky. He beat Dontel Mays on a decision last time out, did Nascimento. Derrick Lewis is going to absolutely viciously knock out Nascimento in St. Louis. The fans are going to go crazy. I love having a Derrick Lewis main event. I'm thankful that he's in this fight against Nascimento, who I think is the perfect victim to a highlight reel knockout for Derrick Lewis. Now, I don't think Lewis is making one last title run, but I still believe there are some awesome fights on the table for him, and getting through Rodrigo Nascimento is definitely a must, and I think it's a will. I think it's an absolute. Derrick Lewis, knockout win in the first round. Nascimento is getting completely dusted here. His stand-up is clunky. He's hittable on the feet. His jiu-jitsu is not that good, and he's not to the level of Derrick Lewis. I think he's getting absolutely berserked on. As far as the odds, Nascimento is plus 125, the underdog. Derrick Lewis is minus 145, the favorite. Give me Derrick Lewis, knockout, under 1.5, minus 145. Derrick Lewis knockout first round is the official prediction. I know he's taken some L's, right? 1-4 in his last 5, but let's read off the names. Tai Tuivasa in an absolute slugfest when that was Tai's, moment, bro. Tai looked good after that, and, obviously he's fallen off since, but still, that was the best version of Tai. Pavlovich knocked him out. It's Pavlovich. Sergey Spivak subbed him. Spivak's a monster on the ground. He beat De Lima, who's actually pretty decent. And then he lost to Jailton Almeida, who's an extremely tricky grappler. Nascimento on the other side, the wins are not impressive. Tanner Bozier by split decision. Latifi split, to be fair. Derrick Lewis years ago had a hard fight with Latifi. Dontel Mays decision. Derrick Lewis is going to find the Nascimento chin. We're going to be striking. Lewis will fend off the grappling attempts. Nascimento will try and push Lewis against the cage a bit, wear him down, and look for trips. But I think there'll be moments where Nascimento gets confident striking and throws some of those looping hooks that he does. And I think Derrick Lewis drops an absolute hammer on him and flatlines Rodrigo Nascimento. So we're going Derrick Lewis in the main event by vicious knockout. And the Black Beast is still the Mac. That is UFC St. Louis. Those are my full card predictions. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you all smash the like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I got daily content coming, so make sure you got the post notifications turned on as well. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the picks. I want to hear what my people are thinking. I appreciate each and every one of you for the consistent support. If you got nothing to say in the comments, but you just support your boy, drop a W in the chat. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.